these in the last couple of days, and this is what we'll be making necks from. We designed our neck about 7 years ago to be built completely different than guitar necks are normally built. We wanted to solve the problem of how straight a neck was, you know, on an acoustic guitar, to kind of get rid of that 14th fret hump that you get on guitars a lot. So we redesigned all of that. The other thing we did at the same time is we looked in the future and realized that mahogany would be tough to get, if not impossible. We were standing on the threshold of the disappearance of it, and so we knew that we would have to start getting mahogany from a lot more primitive sources to be able to do it at all. Real green, sustainable, ecological sources on the forest floor, gathered by villagers of their own property, selling a couple of trees out of crack, and, you know, things real sustainable like that. We have really dry days, we'll close up and run humidifiers, but we're not really worried too much about anything out there other than comfort or extremely dry days that may be cracking wood. They've all been dried, they're perfectly dry. That means nothing, okay? That's not the end of the story. What you've got to do is take these, do all of this milling to it. That opens up all of this grain. It relieves all the stress that's built up in it. You put it in this, we call them wind tunnels. We have them all over the place. Put them in there and we blow this climate-controlled air right by it, and in 3 days, this is a new piece of wood, right? It's
different tone implications.
Yeah, it has. It's completely relaxed. If it was going to twist or warp, it's twisted and warped. And then when we come back and recut it, it stays in that new shape. What we're doing is we're bringing it one step at a time closer to what we eventually want it to be. If you take a tree and make a guitar neck out of it that day, it's not ready to be a guitar neck.
Right.
You've got to ease it in really slowly. Every other normal guitar piece of wood, tops, backs, sides, are all three-sawn and book match pieces. They're being edge glued on these carousel clamps, and after that, they're run through a sander, brought down to thickness, and then everything on center and lined up, and then the computer controls everything at that point. We just use a laser to do all the cutting. So he's marking some things now. He's making index holes and target points for us to line stuff up, almost like silk screening or printing would have targets. We do the same thing on our wood, and then we can come in and cut the thing out to shape. All of our thin wood and a lot of our little bracing materials and things like that we cut with lasers, because it's just a nice, super accurate, highly civilized way to get the wood out. So now you have a top. We've got a couple of target lines in that we'll use for visual cues. These will come out later, and there'll be index holes that can cause everything to line up. These things have been cut to accuracies that are
amazing.
Yeah, these shapes are right on the money. They're within a thousandth of an inch of where we want them to be. And when we come later to drop this in the guitar, you can see the arch and everything that's already been built into this. And when we drop it into the guitar, it's just going to fit right in, like just snap in place. Everything's got to be indexed. All the pieces have to fit on pins. You know, you want these glue joints to turn out in the right place and then hold together while they're doing it. Everything has got a torque wrench. We know exactly how much pressure we want to use. All that's been figured out. So he'll use a power wrench to get it close. Then he takes a torque wrench and goes, and then it slips right at the exact right amount of pressure. If you clamp a joint too tight, of course, you'll squeeze the glue out of it, and it'll be starved and it'll fall apart. Okay, this is a bolt that will be exposed later to help hold the neck on. There's going to be 3 bolts that hold the neck on. One holds the fretboard portion down, and then there will be, when we glue the heel on, there will be 2 into there. The truss rod runs from here to here, and it's It's just anchored. It's
Okay,
basically
anchored,
a long carriage bolt, and we have 2 dowel pins as moorings for them to push up, a hardened steel pin. Those are drilled and pushed down in. When we put the nut here, it rams up against that, and then everything is solid and it works. So the questions we're asking are, how fast can we get the job done? How much tap do we want? How much space filler do we want in there? How hot is this? For example, this is a heat-proof glue. The machines are really quite simple in concept. They have the ability to move in a straight line or an arc. That's all they can do. But they can do that in 3 axes, and you can chain it together as small as possible. So my But in this operation here, we're taking a deck length that's been brought all the way through the process. The fingerboard is glued onto it, but the fingerboard hasn't been rounded, straightened, or anything like that. The back of the neck has been stress relieved and cut perfectly straight, so now it's vacuumed down against the top lap and stress free. And the fretboard is rounded. The frets get pressed in off the machine, and then we're coming back now and trimming all the frets, putting the bevel in it. We cut the nut slot, we get the nut put in, we cut the string slots in the nut. And so really what we're doing is kind of going from a rough neck length to a fretted neck length, trim the perfect size with the nut installed, all on this one operation. Taylor has become a major supplier. We started with nothing and we've made this transition, and we're unique in that regard. Yep. You know, the big guys, Martin, Fender, Gibson, were there a long time, had been there a long time, and in this recent swell from the mid-80s to here in guitar, where there are a record number of guitars. You know what happened when Saturday Night Fever hit. No one wanted to play guitar. Then the glam rock sort of 80s, thing came out, and no one bought acoustics. But then electric and acoustics swelled beyond anything that ever happened in history, ever. Well, in that rise, your big brands who were there when rock and roll and when modern music was formed, popular guitar music, they were able to market themselves based on the people who played their guitars. I have no rock icons, no guitar heroes to point to. I have a lot of famous people that play my guitar, but I can't say Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton. I just go down the line. I can't do it. I don't have anything I can go out in the past and dig out. Here's a guy that, Leo Kottke. That's it. Yeah. As far as like someone that a man on the street would know who he is, and that's a pretty narrow, that's not popular music still. So the only way that the hero of our whole story for 25 years has been the guitar itself.